This is the Canon EOS RP. It is Canon's budget alternative to the Canon EOS R, which is one of their flagship mirrorless RF models of camera, which they released, I believe, in 2019. And to be honest, it's not even that different. It has a 26 megapixel sensor, which is, I think, 6 megapixels lower than the Canon EOS R, and doesn't have the screen on top. Obviously, there's a few other differences, but those are the main two for me, and it costs £1,000 less first hand. I got this one the other day, in April of 2024, for a second price hand of £530, which is almost £100 less than it is going for on eBay. In this video I'm going to tell you why, and also the pros and cons of buying one in 2024 and whether I recommend it for you. So as I mentioned, it has a 26 megapixel sensor. I currently shoot on the Lumix S5 as my A camera, which has a 24 megapixel sensor, and despite it only being 2 megapixels bigger, which is still okay, it's probably not that noticeable, but the photos I've taken on it definitely look sharper than Lumix S5. And also, I think Canon's colour science, for photos at least, is a lot better than Lumix's in their post-production of it when you take it out of the camera. Lumix I will always prefer for video over Canon. However, for photos, I actually do think the EOS RP wins by far. However, this will still be my B camera. That's the purpose I bought it for, to be a backup camera when I'm doing client shoots, in case for whatever reason my Lumix S5 fails. Later in this video I'm going to show you some photos I took out and about, and you'll be able to see the quality of them as well as some video clips. On the subject of video, that is where it massively fails, especially in comparison to my S5. I've never really rated Canon for video. It seems to be a little bit behind its competitors such as Sony and Lumix. As for a full frame camera, this has 1080p 60 FPS, that's great, that's what you want for full HD, but Full HD is a bit 2018. Nowadays everybody is uploading 4K videos unless you're doing Instagram Reels. You can shoot 4K on this, it's 4K 24 FPS. However, this comes with a 1.6 times crop, effectively turning it into an APS-C camera, which, if you're paying for full frame, do you want it to be APS-C at 4K? At least it's got 4K though. You could look at this in a positive way by thinking, well, if you put a 100mm lens on it, that turns into a 160mm lens. So if you want to film videos of wildlife or something out and about, maybe sports, you get more range on your lens from doing that. But most of the time, that is a bit annoying to have a full frame sensor and not be making the most of it. It is RF mount, which means you will need an adapter to get EF lenses onto it. I usually shoot on EF lenses, almost all of them, except my Lumix 85mm are EF mount, and I use an adapter on my S5 anyway, so I'm used to using an adapter for lenses, which is what I'll be doing on this. All of the photos and videos you're seeing shot on the RP in this video was shot with a K&F concept adapter, which works very well except with the 50mm f1.4 lens, Canon lens. Unfortunately, that's because it's an older mount. The motors in it are from quite a few years ago, so the technology doesn't quite line up, so I can't use that lens on this camera. However, every other lens I can do. I went into a shop earlier and I tried the 50mm f1.8 Canon lens, which is slightly newer than the f1.4, and that one works perfectly fine on it. In fact, the autofocus on it was incredibly fast. It comes with a microphone, headphone output, HDMI, remote shooting device output, everything you need in the output side of things. Unfortunately, it only has one SD card slot, whereas my S5 has two. That's on the bottom with the battery. I don't really care too much. I've never really needed two. I use quite big SD cards, 128GB, so I'm pretty fine most of the time, and it's not a huge deal to switch them out. So I've bought this as a backup camera. I never expected to be as good at video as my Lumix one, so if I was to ever be in a situation where I need to use this for video, I would be a bit limited to 1080p most of the time, unless I would put up with a 4K crop, which might be good for some things like food shots where you want the close-up, but most of the time that'll be a bit annoying. If I'm on a shoot where I'm shooting Instagram Reels, I'm happy to do that in 1080p because I'll be shooting vertically and posting it to Instagram Reels in 1080p anyway, so I'm always downscaling my 4K videos from my Lumix S5 to 1080p for that purpose, in which case the EOS RP is an excellent Reels camera and produces some incredibly sharp, really good quality photos. However, back to videos, if I'm shooting anything horizontal, anything for YouTube or commercials or anything, I want 4K, and it falls a bit short with that. But I'll definitely be using this a lot for photo work because the photos it produces are definitely superior to my Lumix S5. Speaking of which, I went into Exeter earlier for a little while, for about an hour or so, to shoot some photos and videos as examples for you. So let's cut to that now. You can see a little bit of Exeter and what I managed to shoot on this EOS RP. Hi guys, I'm currently in the centre of Exeter just testing out this camera of Canon EOS RP, and now I'm overexposed. So right now I'm filming at 1080p at 60 FPS with the 20mm f1.8 lens on, and unfortunately, because it's 1080p and I upload in 4K, that means I'm going to have to upscale the footage. So this is also a bit of a test of how that will come out upscaled on YouTube, see how well the quality is maintained when you upscale. Now I'm going to crop into 4K, so the next clip will be in proper 4K, and you'll see the effect of a 1.6 times crop. Right, so 1.6 times crop, this is 4K, 25 frames per second. It definitely struggles to focus in 4K. Can't even tell if I'm in focus there. But also the crop is quite drastic, and it will be a lot harder to vlog holding that very much full length right now. A lot harder to vlog or film shots myself with a 1.6 times crop on a full frame camera. So here's hoping upscaling doesn't look terrible, and now it's gone out of focus. So back to 1080p, look at that view behind me by the way, in this nice Rougemont Gardens park area at the top of Exeter. I'm going to walk around town for an hour or so, get a few photos and shots to test out the camera, if it doesn't rain on me, which it is starting to, and then we'll review them afterwards. I only have two wide-angle lenses today, the 20mm f1.8 and the 1635 f2.8. So a lot of wide-angle photos, I can't really test out anything more zoomed in properly. I think it's hard to come up with this view over Exeter right now. But yeah, I only got an hour or so to get some quick photos, give us a quick test. It is already starting to rain, hence why I got my coat off. Let's head down into town. I think there'll be a few more photo opportunities there on a wide-angle lens. British weather is so typical. The whole time I'm shooting in town it's drizzly, rainy, just very unpleasant. So I cut it kind of short. I come home on the bus, get off the bus, and now it's gone all sunny again. I'm currently shooting in 1080p 60fps on the Canon 1635 f2.8. I'm going to switch now to 4K and I'll have a 1.6 times crop at 16mm, and we can see how that looks. Yeah, so still a bit too zoomed in really. It's just about doable. Can't vlog like this, but it's less than ideal. So let's get to the title of this video now. Why I got this in 2024 and why I recommend you do the same if you are a beginner photographer, that is, however, or you want it as a backup camera. If you're a beginner, this is an incredibly good camera to get. First of all, I've always preferred Canon over any other brand for simplicity of the menu design and for beginners. If you are a beginner, this is a very simple layout of the camera to learn, and same goes for the menus. The learning curve is not steep at all. Second of all, if you're a beginner, do you need 4K? Maybe you would like to shoot in 4K, in which case you have the option, but 1080p is fine for almost any projects which a beginner would be doing, especially if they're not paid loads of money. Some of you might not even be doing videos at all and will just be considering this for photo work, in which case it is superior to my other full frame camera the S5, which I've said I'm using at the moment. So yeah, if it's photo work you want to do, this camera will be even better than what you really need as a beginner. This is absolutely incredible. And also with photo work, it doesn't really change that much over time. Maybe the autofocus improves on these cameras, maybe they get a couple extra features, a couple extra color profiles or something like that, but what's different about shooting photos in 2024 compared to 2019? Not loads. And if you have the right lenses, you'll get good photos, incredibly sharp photos on this one actually. Canon have just released the EOS R8 as well, which is a definite upgrade on the EOS RP and the EOS R. However, it's a little more expensive, but with the release of a new camera comes with a reduction of cost of their previous models, hence why this one is going to be a lot cheaper from now on. That means that you can get an excellent camera which shoots incredibly sharp photos and decent video for just £530 as I got this one, and maybe even cheaper in the coming months. That is incredibly good value for what you get here, something which they were charging upwards of £1,000 for back in 2019. The EOS R, like I said, upwards of £2,000 I believe when it was first released. which is ridiculous considering the lack of difference between EOS R and EOS RP. This really is very, very good value for £1,000 less. So if you're a beginner photographer in 2024, or you want it as a backup camera like I've said, and you use something a bit more advanced with better video quality like the Lumix S5, or the Lumix S5 II is even better, then this is a good camera to go for. I wouldn't go for it if you are a little bit more advanced, wanting to shoot high level stuff and you have all the EF lenses and you want a camera body which is not too expensive, then I'd maybe guide you more towards the S5, which you can get for £750 now. But yeah, if you want a B camera, a very good option. Thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed, remember to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and while you're at it, don't forget to turn on post notifications so you never miss a video, and I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.